On the situation in Venezuela, I'm joined by Arturo Lopez-Levy, an adjunct professor of international affairs at New York University. He's joining us now from San Francisco. Thanks so much for joining us. First, I'd like to get your reaction to the mayor's arrest. What message is it sending, especially coming 1 year after those massive demonstrations in Caracas?
Elaine, basically what we are seeing here is that the Venezuelan government and the Venezuelan opposition are falling into a spiral of radicalization, of polarization in both sides. In one sense, a group in the opposition is trying to radicalize the political struggle to get rid of the government of Nicolás Maduro, and Nicolás Maduro at the same time is doing this type of provocative actions to feed up this process.
Does Maduro's government really see the mayor and other opposition figures as threats, or is this just an excuse to eliminate opponents before the upcoming congressional elections?
I think, Elaine, that you are right on that. The clock is ticking, and the congressional elections will come in the last month of this year, and Maduro has a very low level of popularity, low level of approval, and at the same time, the economy is not sending any signal of recovery. Oil that is the main export of Venezuela has lost 50% of its value in the international market. So there are little perspective that there will be a big change in the situation.
I want to ask you about the economy in just a few moments, but you know, there were some protests following Mayor Ledesma's arrest, but what do you think the general feeling is among Venezuelans about this? Do you think it adds heat to some of the economic issues that you've mentioned, or do you think Venezuelans are just considering it politics and maybe indifferent?
I think that a big danger in this situation is that the polarization prevail, and then moderate forces in the middle that have supported for quite a long time the most moderate elements of the opposition around Governor Enrique Capriles, who used to be the presidential candidate in the last two elections, and he almost won in the last elections against Maduro. Basically, if the polarization continue, the most moderate element of the opposition will lose control of their forces. And on the other hand, it happened last year when the government arrested Leopoldo Lopez, that members of the government that were in a more moderate position, talking with members of the opposition at the level of the municipalities and the parliament, lost the interest on that. And what we saw is a little spark on Maduro's approval, but in general, a lot of disappointment in the way Venezuelan politics was run.
So what do you think it'll take to turn Venezuela's economy around? You could have more arrests, but what will Maduro have to do to get out of the hole that his country is in?
Well, first of all, President Maduro needs to have a more friendly approach to the private sector and try to recognize a lot of the mistakes and flaws of the type of statist model that was installed in Venezuela under President Chavez. He also needs to walk halfway and try to meet people in the opposition that had a moderate position and have insisted on a solution of Venezuelan problems within the framework of the constitutional system. And it's something difficult because he looked at himself as the heir of Hugo Chavez, a revolutionary, and it's very difficult for him to understand the logic of compromise.
All right, we'll leave it there. Arturo Lopez-Levy, as always, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us from San Francisco.
It was a pleasure.